I think people have a natural impulse to draw. As children, most of us draw long before we write, but for some reason, adults who are quite comfortable with putting pen to paper and writing are often very self-conscious and uncomfortable with drawing. A lot of writing today is done on a keyboard, but at least throughout school, most of us spent quite a bit of time writing on paper. And while the physical acts of writing and drawing may not seem all that different at first glance, there are some things worth considering for an artist. Because what's comfortable and efficient for writing isn't always the best approach to drawing. So today I'm going to give you a few physical and practical suggestions to both improve your drawing experience and to help give your drawings a more confident stroke. Okay, so first let's talk about the size that you're drawing and how that relates to distance. To put it simply, the bigger you're drawing, the farther you want to be from it to be able to see the big picture. I draw a lot of portraits, so if I'm drawing in a sketchbook where the heads are small, say the size of an egg, the distance I am from it doesn't really matter that much, in the same way that distance doesn't matter very much when you're writing. But if I'm drawing larger, where the faces are the size of my hand or bigger, then I want to be a little further away, say a bit less than arm's length, to get a better overall perspective on it. So when you're drawing, consider putting a little more distance between your eyes and your work than you would when writing, and put yourself in a position to draw rather than write. So my next point is to consider getting your drawing into an inclined position. An easel is ideal for this, but just a drawing board of some kind propped up in an angle works just fine. When your work is flat on a table, you almost can't help but be hunched over it, and probably too close to it unless your drawing is quite small. It's much easier to work at arm's length and make good drawing decisions when you're facing your drawing in an inclined position rather than hovering over your drawing and seeing it in perspective. Another consideration is that if you're working with a medium that's chalky or powdery, like charcoal or pastel for example, you're going to end up getting your hands in it more if the drawing is lying flat because you're inclined to rest your hand on the surface. You're not tempted to do this as much when your drawing is on an incline. And if you like to have your hand stabilized some of the time, you could always use a maul stick the way that a painter might. Drawing in this position also enables us to work from the shoulder. When we're right up close to a drawing, we tend to work from the fingers and wrist like we do when we're writing, and that can result in short, choppy strokes. Drawing from the shoulder gives you a stroke that's much more fluid and less confined. When you're in a writing position with your forearm resting on the table surface, the shoulder is virtually immobile, and this can limit the expressive quality of your work if you're not conscious of it. In a practical sense, I tend to work from the shoulder more in the beginning of a drawing when I'm exploring bigger ideas and working more gesturally, and somewhat less towards the end of a drawing when I'm focused on smaller things. And so finally, let's talk about how you hold your drawing medium. Some techniques specify a certain grip, but in general, you should grip the medium in a way that feels natural for what it is that you're doing. But at least be open to the possibility that it may be something different from the way you hold a pen when you write a shopping list. Or not. It's kind of an individual thing. If I'm working from my shoulder, I personally find it more natural to hold the medium as if I were using it to point at something. I'm sure there's a name for this particular grip and a half a dozen others, but the point is that it feels the most natural to me. This is just my preference, and like most things I've mentioned in this video are just suggestions. All of this is meant as a general guideline and food for thought, and like most things in art, the best way for you to do it is the way that gives you the best results. So I hope you've heard something here today that you found useful. I'd love to hear any questions or comments that you have, so just leave them below and I'll respond if I can. Take care, everyone.